friends, and fellas from home. When you're asked back to any place for a second time, there are three possibilities. You did such a bad job the first time, you're being given a second chance. Or you did a good job and they wanted to hear you again, or they couldn't get anybody else. So remember that, Reverend. Now, Newfoundlanders use the negative to make the affirmative more positive. Yes, that's true. You've gone into a store and it's been a cold day and a couple of fellas standing around, in comes another fellow and says, "Don't say I didn't call." Or he's got a new girlfriend, he says, "Don't say she isn't good looking." Or he got a big salmon, and he says, "Don't say he isn't big." And here am I saying, "Don't say I'm not happy to be here." Because I am. My first venture out into the outports to speak was in 1974, and it was a teacher's due. Two of them were retiring. And the first thing, I looked them all over for about 10 seconds. They didn't know what was coming. I said, "You're the foolishest crowd of baymen ever I come across." I said, "To have a townie come out and entertain you with your own humor. And you fellas here in Hearts Delight now is just so foolish." To me, it's very necessary to have fun every day. And the Bible tells us in 2 Proverbs, being cheerful keeps you healthy. It is slow death to be gloomy. And the other one, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. And that is the truest thing that I could tell you. But you know, when anybody phones the house, and I did this some years, this all happened in 1 year, these 3 stories I'm going to tell you now. They're liable to hear anything from me. And Mr. Brothers, who phoned from Port Saunders to ask me to come to the graduation class, he said he knew he had the right Clousten on the phone because he didn't sound normal. Well, I felt so good about that, you know, really, I did. Now then, wrong numbers. It's nonsense to get annoyed, because don't we all dial a wrong number sometime? About 10 years ago, I was retired, and the phone rang 8:15. And the voice said, "Are you coming to work today?" My son, I said, "I haven't made up my mind yet." He says, What? You're supposed to be here 8 o'clock. He said, 10 fellas here waiting for you to come and show them what they got to do. He said, "It's not good enough." He said, "Usually you tell us the day before if you're not coming. What are you going to do about it now?" I said, "I don't know, boy. Can't tell you now." "Gosh," he said, "it's shocking. Are you coming this afternoon?" I said, "I have to phone you, but I don't think I am." I said, "I don't think I am, boy." Oh, he just blew his mind. He said, "You coming tomorrow?" I said, "Same thing." And all of a sudden he said, "This is not Jim, is it?" "No, boy." I said, "You didn't ask me." He just broke out into laughter and got the humor of it. This woman phoned and a beautiful voice said, "Is this the Mount Pearl taxi?" And I said, "No. Boy, I'd love to come pick you up." And, you know, she frightened first and then she burst out into laughter. She said, "I know that might be nice for her, but I think I better get the taxi." Now, here's the third story. And this woman phoned one night, and she didn't say hello. She said, "Is Joyce there?" I said, "I wish she was." I said, "I'm here all alone." Let me start off by telling you a story. You know, we are all laughing at ourselves, and sometimes Protestants laugh at Catholics, and Catholics laugh at Protestants. But in this case, the Protestants came off on the short end of the stick. 3 Protestant clergymen sitting in a plane, and a lone sister in front. And she hear them discussing the Catholic religion, you see. And eventually she hears one of them say, I wished I lived in Canada. There's only 15% Catholics there. And the other one says, I wished I lived in the United States. There's only 10% there. And the other say, England, boy, that's the place. There's only 5% there. The sister couldn't take it any longer. She turned around and says, why don't you all go to hell? There's no Catholics there. I don't know if ever you've heard how far ever so far is, but I'm going to tell you. The ice was all in around St. John's Harbour, you see, and this goes back about 20 years ago, and 3 or 4 fellows from St. John's went out on the ice and they drifted way out. And on Doctor Street, this chap said to another, he says, nothing getting loosed on the hoist now, boy. He said, they sounds like one of them helicopters, Uxanti and Kajome, he said. Nothing to it, they said. Should have been along with we 20 years ago, he said, we drift most to England. Oh, skipper, he didn't drift to England. Well, he said, we drift ever so far. But he said, how far is that? He said, the first day, he said, we drift one hell of a distance. And the second day, we drift so far again. And the third day, when the sun come up, he come up inside me. People ask me where I get my stories. And my stock answer is by showing the love of God. And I do. Everybody I meet, if they're near, I'll say hello, and most people respond. It's giving people recognition that they're human, that they're accepted, that they're a human being. And this is true, you know. And or I'll wave, and they'll wave back. And one time my sister-in-law was here. I was going up the southern shore. And everybody was on the side of the road. I was waving. She said to me, my gosh, Al, she said, you know a lot of people, don't you? But anyway, I'm going to give you 2 instances of that only happened recently. I was into Wilco, and I saw a man pick up a pair of gloves or socks off the floor, and I got close to him. Boy, you're a man after my own heart. I can't pass anything on the floor. I got to pick it up, too. So he turned around. Oh, he said, Al Clousten. And I said, yes. Well, I don't know you. No, he said, I'm Tom Baker. And I forget where Tom said he was from. So we talked. And after a few minutes, he said, I have a story for you. I said, well, that's great. Tell me. He said, you know, when they were building our Gentian Naval Base down there, he said they had hundreds of carpenters, electricians, pipe fitters, and they had to build bunkhouses for them, and they had to have eating places for them. But he said one night in this bunkhouse, and I was there were 2 men not far from one another, and it was only about 8 o'clock at night, and one of them, they both knew one another's families, you see, and they knew all about it. Of course, in Newfoundland, if there's 1,000 people or 2,000 people living in that community, there's no secrets. Sometimes I'd like to have the secret, because each one knows what's going on all over the place. Well, anyway, they said one of these men repeated the one line of a song, where is my wandering boy tonight? You see, in 10 seconds again, where is my wandering boy tonight? Another 10 seconds, where is my wandering boy tonight? And the other man that knew the family well got on his nerves after an hour. He says, I'll tell you where he is. He says, he's down in Sam Trask's store, he said, bum and backy. Now, the other story only happened just 10 days ago. By just saying hello to somebody, I waved. He saw me parking on Empire Avenue, and I could see him in the mirror. And he walked right back to my car. And he was carrying on his back an orange garbage sack, you see. and it was half full of earth or fertilizer or something. And before he said a word, anything, I said, I suppose you're spelling that down to the cemetery. Oh my, he said, my father always said that. He says, spelling, see? So then he said, I said to my wife the other day, wouldn't Al Clousten love to have this story? And then he told me, Uncle Joe down in Highland Cove, he said his brother died. And he's wonderful concern because he had no picture of him. He said, no likeness of him at all, he says. And he'd done some worrying about that till one day his wife opened the drawer and there he was, little small snapshots, you see. Well, she said, look what I got here. So he goes downstairs, she goes downstairs to Uncle Joe, she says, Joe, look what I got, look at it. Well, he said, that's Tom, he said, certainly, he said, well, he's wonderful small, isn't he? He said, he said, I'll take him over Miss Toodown now, he said, and Giddy, he said, make him bigger. See? So he goes over, oh yes, Mr. Toodown, oh yes, he said, I can make that bigger for you. He said, how big do you want? He said, I want it as big as a book. No, he said, you them magazines, he said, like that. Look here, he said, Mr. Toodown, he said, you got his cap on. He says, when you're making them bigger, can you take that cap off? Oh yes, he said, we can do that. And old Joe was just leaving the counter, and he said, pardon me, he thought he'd be smart, you see, Toodown. He said, pardon me, he said, would you tell me what side of his head your brother parted his hair? Oh, Mr. Toodown, sir, he said, you'll find that out. He said, when you take his cap off. The following are stories which I call man versus woman. I was entertaining in Catalina, you see, and the chairman got up to thank me. And when he did, after about 2 words, his false teeth came right out of his mouth. It's true. And he grabbed them, shoved them back into his mouth, and put his head in the air and laughed it loudly. What better can you do when you're on the spot is laugh. Embarrassment went away. And I tugged on his coat, you see. He said, what do you want? I said, sit down. And he sat down. One more story. A denturist told me about making a set of teeth for a lady. And when she came to get them at this house where he was working, she brought her husband. He told the husband to wait out in the hall. And he said, I took her inside in the room and I fitted them as well as I knew how. And then I brought him in. Now, he said, look at that set of teeth. What do you think of it? And he looked at his wife and he said, do this. Do that. Do this. He said, they're good enough as long as they're not saucy as last set you had. A woman arrived home with, her husband couldn't believe it, all the bananas she had in the kitchen. He said, what have you got all these bananas for? Well, she said, the sign said, as many bananas as you want for $1. And I bought $3 for it. This particular couple had their family raised, and they were enjoying themselves, taking trips up to Toronto to see their children, and somewhere else they were asked, they went, and they took all the times in the schoolhouse and everything. This went on for 5 or 6 years, and then they didn't go as often, you see. And the wife wasn't liking this very much. He was getting sick, and he couldn't always go. And then it got worse. They didn't go very often down, and then it finished altogether. They didn't go anywhere. And one night the man went unconscious. He called the doctor in, and the doctor took one look at him and said, I believe he's dead. So he had to overtake off his coat, and the man opened his eyes. Martha, he said, "Oh, indeed." She says, "Close your eyes, doctor knows what he's talking about." Dr. Wilkinson was in down in Old Perlican here, and some of you people remember him, I guess. And his wife told me two stories. And one was about this woman who he never visited, or never came to the hospital. He always visited her, you see. And one day when he'd just done an operation, he came out, and another doctor and the three nurses with all their white clothes and masks on. And who did he see coming through the door but this woman and two people holding her up? And she didn't stop till she got right up 1 foot away, and she looked up in his face. "Oh, my doctor, it's wonderful things to use in your clothes." He said, "What happened to you, old doctor? Come down over the stairs. She's not got a wonderful back. He's wonderful." So he told the nurses to take him down to the examining room, and she did. And then when she was ready and just a sheet over her, he went down. And he said the woman did have a bad fall, and her back was black and blue, and he went over her back very, very carefully, and he was almost finished when she squalled around and looked up at him. "My doctor, there's no trouble to tell. You've been to college." Nobody ever felt her back like that before. I was in Catalina, I suppose, 2 or 3 years ago now, entertaining the senior citizens for the Lines. And the Reverend there, he was handling, and that's all I know. I can't remember his name now. But he told me about a woman who she was quite crippled with arthritis, and her husband used to help her on with her clothes. And one day, she was sitting on the side of the bed, and she lifted 1 foot to give him access to put on something, I suppose. Anyway, the mat on the linoleum floor gave out, you see, and it slid away, and she went slouso on the floor, and she hurt her back. Well, she was in bed for about 3 months. One day the Reverend went in, and she was up and downstairs. And he said, "Now, ma'am," he said, "how's your back?" "Oh, Reverend, he's wonderful, wonderful bad." He says, "When I get in the bed in the night," she says, "I can't turn over." She says, "I have to get out and go down the side of him and along the hand and get into the other side." So I suppose your husband has to do the same thing. "Oh, no, sir, no, sir. He just sheaves the stern."